Today, we are taking a really inward journey, but not to find some temporary calm, but to face a pretty profound philosophical truth.
Exactly. It's about the urgency of human life and, what spiritual seeking is actually for.
Right. And the sources we've got stacked up for this deep dive, they move way beyond the usual self-help stuff.
Oh, absolutely. They're challenging us to question some really fundamental things we just assume are true. About time, about stability, about our own lives.
So our mission today is what, exactly? To kind of distill this ancient wisdom.
I think that's a good way to put it. We want to make it relevant, and show why this isn't just a leisure activity. It's more like a survival imperative.
Okay, a survival imperative. Let's jump right into that, because that's a strong claim.
It is.
When most people today hear spiritual practice, I think they imagine scented candles, maybe a yoga retreat.
Or a mindfulness app, right?
Yeah.
Something to just dial down the stress from their day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The goal is relaxation.
And that right there is the modern confusion. It's a huge one. We've mixed up the side benefits, like, yes, you might feel calmer, with the actual goal of the path.
So the sources are saying the real purpose is something much bigger.
Way bigger. It's not about temporary comfort or just feeling good. It's about a radical, fundamental awakening to reality. It's like waking up from a dream. It's supposed to be a shock.
And that shock, that specific feeling, has a name that we don't really have a good word for in English.
No, we don't. The word is Samvega.
Samvega.
It's a beautiful, really complex word. We kind of approximate it as spiritual urgency, but that doesn't fully capture it.
So what more is in there?
It's a visceral feeling. It's in your gut, but it's also intellectual. It's this shocking realization of how fragile and, frankly, futile life is if you're just sleepwalking through it.
It's the moment you realize the house is on fire.
That's the classic analogy. The house is on fire, and that's a really crucial distinction the sources make.
How so?
Because if your house is on fire, our modern reaction is to label that feeling as, what? Anxiety, panic.
Or even depression. Something you need to medicate or manage away.
Right. But Samvega is absolutely not despair. Despair paralyzes you. It tells you the situation is hopeless.
And Samvega does the opposite.
Exactly. It's the jolt of danger that makes you act. Immediately, it shows you there's a fire, but it also illuminates the exit sign. It gives you motivation.
So it's a catalyst. The shock of impermanence is the thing that gets you moving.
And the sources give this really powerful way you can, test this for yourself just by visiting a sacred site.
Okay, explain that.
Well, think about it. When you go to a place dedicated to a great spiritual master, the Buddha, anyone, you're hit with this simple, unavoidable fact.
Which is?
Even someone who reached the absolute pinnacle of human potential, who figured it all out, they still had to leave their physical body.
That's the moment. That's the spark of Samvega.
Yes, the question lands right on you.
Yeah.
If he had to leave, this person who transcended everything, what on earth makes you think that you get to stay? And that realization, that very personal, undeniable fact that your current identity is temporary, that's the starting gun.
It forces the question. If I can't stay, what should I be doing with my time right now?
You see, that's the urgency. It's not about some abstract future. It's about realizing that time is not guaranteed. You stop rehearsing and you start the actual performance.
Okay, with that urgency set, let's talk about the grand illusion we spend our lives building. The sources use this incredible analogy of the train ride to frame it.
This one really hits home. It's such a perfect metaphor for dismantling that feeling of permanence we all crave.
So imagine you're on a long journey, a cross-country train ride. You get settled in, you've got your book, your snacks.
You were making your little temporary home.
Exactly. And you start talking to the stranger next to you.
Yeah.
And over hours, maybe even a whole day, you really connect. You share stories, you laugh, maybe you talk about really deep personal things. A real bond forms in that little train car.
You start to weave them into your reality, don't you? They become this fixture. You count on them for conversation, for a sense of connection.
You stop thinking, this is just a stranger I met, and you start thinking, this is my travel companion.
Yes. Your mind, which just desperately wants stability, makes them a permanent part of the story.
But then the train slows down, the announcement comes on, it's their stop.
Yours.
They just stand up, grab their bags, the deep conversation is just over, and they walk out the door.
Gone. Forever. And you're just left with the silence and their empty seat.
And this, the sources argue, is exactly how we live our entire lives.
It's the same psychological trick. We look at our family, our jobs, our friends, our social status, and we treat them all like they are permanent fixtures on a train that's somehow just going to keep going forever.
We spend our entire lives building what the sources call castles on a moving train.
And what are those castles today? I mean, it's our 40-year retirement plans, right? Our career ladders that we assume will just always be there.
Our online identities, these carefully built social media personas, all of it is based on the assumption that the train is stable and not really moving that fast.
The language we use gives it away. It's the language of ownership. This is my wife, this is my career, this is my house. We build this whole fortress around roles that are, by their very nature, temporary.
And this is where the scale of it really becomes shocking. The sources contrast this with the infinite timeline. Time is infinite looking back and infinite looking forward.
It's an endless ocean.
And in that endless ocean of time, a human life, 80, 90, maybe 100 years if you're lucky, is described as shorter than a lightning flash.
And that's meant to jolt you. If you think your life is a long, stable road, you can be complacent. But if you truly see it as a lightning flash against an eternal dark sky...
The priorities have to shift. Instantly. You stop spending all your energy polishing the castle walls.
But here's the question that always comes up, and it's a fair one. If we really take this on board, if everything is just a lightning flash, doesn't that lead to nihilism? Doesn't it make life feel pointless?
Right. If the person I love is just going to walk out the door, why even bother connecting?
And this is a critical point. The sources are so clear about this philosophical nuance. The mistake is not in loving people. It's not in building things or having a career.
The mistake is the attachment.
It's the belief, the deluded belief that you can keep them forever, or that these roles are who you really are. Nihilism says because things end, they have no meaning.
But Samvega says.
Samvega says because they end, they have the maximum possible meaning, but only right now, in this moment.
So it doesn't diminish the connection. It actually elevates it. It makes this present moment with that person infinitely precious because you know it's fleeting.
Exactly. The focus shifts from desperately trying to hold on to wisely using the time you have to understand the journey itself, so that when the station comes, you're not shattered by the shock, you're prepared.
You use that lightning flash to find the exit, not just to decorate the train car.
That's it perfectly.
Okay, so if we accept this transient nature of our identity, it forces us to look at suffering in a completely new way. Which brings us right to the second big idea.
Yeah.
The difference between acceptance and awakening.
Yes, this is huge. It's a deep dive into how we frame our own struggles. We are, I think, culturally conditioned to confuse just coping with things.
With actually understanding them.
Right. Passive acceptance versus active seeking.
And the sources use the foundational story of Prince Siddhartha's awakening to illustrate this. But they focus on a part of it that I think most people miss.
So the prince, he's been shielded from all reality his whole life in the palace.
And he goes out and sees the three sights for the first time. A sick person, an old person, and a corpse.
And that exposure, that first real look at suffering, it's the purest example of Samvega. His whole perfect, permanent world just shatters in an instant.
So he turns to his charioteer, Channa, and he asks this question that just cuts through everything. He says, "Will this happen to me? Will I get old, sick, and die?"
And Channa's answer is the perfect voice of the entire world's default mindset.
What does he say?
He says, yes, my prince, it is natural. Everyone gets sick, old, and dies. He just normalizes it. He presents it as just part of the background noise of life.
And most of the world lives exactly like Channa.
Absolutely. When something terrible happens, a bad diagnosis, losing a job, a death count, our first instinct is to normalize it. We tell ourselves, well, that's just life. Everyone goes through it. You just have to accept it and move on.
It's a coping mechanism. It has to be.
It is, and it's a necessary one to keep society functioning. But it's fundamentally an acceptance of the trap. It never questions why the trap is there in the first place.
But the prince, he refused to settle for that.
Yeah.
He wouldn't accept "it is natural" as the final answer.
He didn't just accept the suffering, he questioned the very limitation itself. His thinking was revolutionary.
How so?
He reasoned that if this trap of sickness, aging, and death exists, then logically, there must be an escape. If there's a state of sickness, there must be a state of health that never fades.
If there is death, there must be a state of deathlessness.
Yes. You see, he didn't just try to manage the problem, he used the problem to define its opposite. And then made that the goal.
That's the huge difference. Channa stays in the trap and tries to make it comfortable. The prince sees the trap as proof that an outside must exist.
And that really is the choice for the listener, isn't it? Are you living like Chana, just accepting that suffering is natural and getting by?
Or are you living like the prince, using the instability of life as the fuel to find the way out?
It's about questioning your own limitations. If you feel trapped, question the trap itself. That's the only thing that generates the kind of deep, unwavering energy you need for a real spiritual path. Passive acceptance just can't do that.
That sustained energy, though, requires understanding where you actually stand, which moves us from the seeker's mindset to the reality of the self. This is section 3, the tenant's lease, debunking the illusion of control.
Yes. Our relationship with control is, well, it's deeply pathological, isn't it? We cling to it so fiercely.
And we use our titles as armor. Doctor, CEO, president, engineer. We think these labels give us some kind of special power, some stability.
We really believe that if we achieve enough status, we can somehow negotiate better terms with the laws of nature, that the train will slow down just for us.
But they're just costumes,
Yeah.
temporary roles. And the sources have this perfect anecdote to just strip that illusion away.
It's so immediate. Imagine you're in a meditation hall, you're feeling completely at peace, centered, secure. You have this deep feeling of belonging, like this space and this piece is yours.
And then, out of nowhere, a security guard walks in, looks at his watch, and says, "The hall is closing. You have to leave. Now."
And in that 1 second, your peace, your sense of control, your feeling of ownership, it all just evaporates.
You have to obey. You can't argue with him. You can't say, "But I need 5 more minutes of peace."
Why not?
Because you don't own the hall. You were just a visitor, a temporary tenant. The time on your lease is up.
And this analogy is then extended directly to the one thing we feel we own most intimately, our own body.
We're always saying it. My body, my health, my hair.
But if we really owned it, shouldn't we be able to command it? I mean, that's what ownership means.
So let's test that. Can you command sickness to leave? Can you order your hair to stop turning gray? Can you halt the process of aging?
Of course not. The reality is we are just tenants. We are renting this biological machine for a few decades, and nature is the landlord.
And the landlord can evict you at any moment without any warning, no matter what your job title is.
It's a sudden illness and accident. That's the eviction notice being served. And it proves, beyond any doubt, that we are not in ultimate control.
That sounds terrifying.
It does at first. But the sources argue that this realization is actually the key to liberation. It's incredibly freeing.
Okay.
Just trying to maintain the illusion of control is exhausting. It's the root of almost all our anxiety, trying to control the uncontrollable.
And this is the ultimate equalizer. The doctor, the CEO, the president, they all have to leave their costumes behind when the lease is up.
There's this one line from the sources that is just, it's stunning. The graveyard does not carve your job title on the earth. It only holds the bones that you borrowed. Wow. That just reframes everything, doesn't it? All that status seeking, all that ambition, it just melts away. The focus shifts from what titles you can collect to what truth remains when they're all gone.
So peace is found not by fighting the landlord, but by accepting you're a visitor and using your time wisely.
It's the ultimate release. You let go of a burden you were never actually strong enough to carry in the first place.
That shift from maintenance to awakening leads us perfectly into section 4. Prevention over cure. This is where the ancient path, the Dhamma, really splits from the modern approach to, well, to everything.
It really does. Our modern world is completely obsessed with cures. We are fundamentally reactive. We wait for a problem to show up.
And then we throw everything we have at fixing the symptom.
We saw it with the pandemic, right? A virus appears, the world panics and rushes to create a vaccine, a cure. We get it, we feel safe for a little while. But then what happens?
The virus mutates, or a new one appears, or the cure has side effects. And in the end, even the vaccinated person
still gets old and dies. The fundamental problem wasn't solved. The pattern is always, wait for the wound, then find a good bandage.
So what's the alternative?
The Buddha's solution, the path of the Dhamma, is completely different.
And just to clarify for our listeners, when we say Dhamma here, what do we mean?
Good question. In this context, Dhamma means two things. It's the ultimate truth of how reality works, and it's also the practical path the Buddha taught to align yourself with that truth. It's the blueprint and the instruction manual.
Got it. So the Dhamma's solution isn't to find a better bandage.
No, it's to prevent the wound from ever happening in the first place.
The sources put it as a really simple question, don't they?
Incredibly simple and profound. Would you rather have a painful, gaping wound and a really, really good bandage? Or would you just prefer to have no wound at all?
The answer is obvious. No wound. And yet, we spend our entire lives just collecting better bandages.
That's what we do. We think better health insurance, more money in the bank, the perfect partner. We think these things are solving the problem of suffering.
But they're just covering the wounds. The wounds of aging, sickness, loss, and death. They're still there under the bandage.
Well, we've become world-class wound managers. We manage our pain, manage our stress, manage our grief. But we so rarely take that Samvega-inspired step back and ask, how do I start getting wounded? What's the root cause?
The ultimate cure, then, is the path to the non-arising of suffering.
It's about getting to the source. The world focuses on symptom relief. The spiritual path focuses on source eradication.
But finding a new bandage is easy. It's comfortable. Eradicating the source. That takes a kind of relentless urgency that only Samvega can provide.
And it requires fuel to keep that urgency alive. The fuel is constantly remembering these truths. The train, the lease. The moment you forget, you go right back to looking for a new bandage because it feels safer.
So the practice is a constant, deliberate reignition of that initial shock.
It's the difference between constantly bailing water out of a flooding boat or finding the hole and patching it forever.
Now this path sounds like a pretty solitary one, a prince leaving his palace alone. But Section 5 reminds us that actually isolation can be fatal on this journey. We need a circle of trust.
The sources are so emphatic about this. Trying to do this alone is, well, it's nearly impossible. The pull of the world, the pullback to building those castles is just too strong.
And they use the example of one of the greatest minds in Buddhist history, the Arahant Sariputta. Even he, the wisest of all the disciples, needed a teacher.
His intellect wasn't enough on its own. He needed to hear the Dhamma spoken by someone else, by a Charioteer, to spark his own wisdom. That encounter was the catalyst. It shows that the right influence is absolutely essential.
Which brings us to this idea of admirable friendship, Kalyana Mitada. And the Buddha's quote on this is just, it's mind-blowing. He didn't say it's half of the holy life.
He said it is the entirety of the holy life.
The entirety. That changes everything. It means who you surround yourself with isn't just a small part of your practice. It is your practice.
It determines everything. It determines whether that flame of Samvega stays lit or just slowly fizzles out into apathy.
And when the sources talk about crossing the ocean of samsara, let's just define that. Samsara is this endless cycle of birth, death, and suffering, right? The unawakened state.
Exactly. It's the turbulent ocean. And the Buddha is saying that the bridge across that ocean is made of wise, dedicated people. Your friends.
It's fascinating when you think about how we were as kids. Our parents were so careful about who we played with.
They knew. They knew instinctively that bad company would ruin us, that attitudes and behaviors are contagious.
But as adults, we get arrogant. We think we're immune. We surround ourselves with people who are completely lost in the illusion, chasing money, chasing status, looking for the next bandage.
And slowly, without even realizing it's happening, we become like them. Their priorities become our priorities. We slip from being the prince back into being Chana.
So finding a wise friend is like finding a hidden treasure.
In a world of noise and distraction, finding someone who values virtue, who points you back to the truth, who challenges your illusions, that's priceless.
And that friend doesn't have to be a monk, right? It can be anyone who is genuinely on that same path.
Absolutely. It's about a shared alignment of purpose. The instruction is so clear. If you find someone like that, hold on to them. Their company is the raft that will get you to the other shore.
This urgent focus on the now, on our company. It all brings us to the final, most direct challenge from the sources. Section 6, don't wait until winter.
This one goes right for the throat. It confronts the biggest, most common lie we tell ourselves.
Which is?
I have time.
Oh, that voice is so powerful. I'll get serious about this when I retire. I'll start meditating when the kids are grown.
We treat awakening like a hobby we'll pick up when we have a nice, quiet, comfortable future.
But the sources just tear that idea apart with brutal honesty. They say, go ask someone who is old or very sick or frail right now how easy it is to focus their mind.
Pain scatters the mind. Old age drains your energy. That's not the time to begin your training. That's the time you need to have already trained. You need the resilience built up before the storm hits.
The window of opportunity is right now. This clarity we have, the ability to even listen and understand these ideas, is a temporary gift.
And the sources frame just how rare this gift is. They call it winning the cosmic lottery. But it's not just one lottery, it's 3, all at once.
Okay, what are they?
First, just being born human. With a mind capable of this kind of reflection, that's incredibly rare in the grand scheme of things. That's winning the first ticket.
Second,
To be born in an era when the teachings, the instructions for escape are still available. There are long, dark ages in history where this knowledge is completely lost, so that's the second win.
and the third is to have the intelligence and the opportunity to actually understand and practice them.
Yes, to have the faculties and the interest to even engage with this conversation. That's the rarest of all.
So if you are listening to this right now and it's making sense to you,
Mhm.
you've won the cosmic lottery.
You're holding the winning ticket. And the instruction that follows is driven by maximum Samvega. Do not tear up the ticket because you think you're too busy polishing the furniture on the moving train.
This just circles right back to the urgency. Time is not a renewable resource.
And the sources give this final, powerful image to drive it all home. The sun is setting, the winter is coming. Do not build your house on the bridge. Cross over. Start your journey today.
The bridge is this human life.
It's the temporary platform connecting the infinite past to the infinite future. Building a permanent home on it, an identity, a career, a clinging to things that must end is just. It's illogical.
You use the bridge to cross. That's its only purpose.
That is the ultimate wisdom of Samvega. Realizing this fragility doesn't lead to despair. It leads to a powerful, focused determination to use this incredibly rare chance before it's gone.
Okay, let's do a quick recap of this whole deep dive. We started with Samvega, that shock that the house is on fire, the thing that pushes us beyond simple relaxation.
Then we used the train ride to see the illusion of permanence, realizing our life is a lightning flash where all our connections are transient.
We saw the difference between living like Chana, who just passively accepts suffering, and living like the prince, who used suffering as the reason to seek the deathless.
We debunked the illusion of control, seeing ourselves as tenants in our own bodies, a realization that is deeply liberating, not frightening.
We contrasted the world's obsession with bandages and cures with the Dhamma's path of preventing the wound in the first place.
And we affirmed that you can't do it alone. That admirable friendship, Kalyana Mittada, is the entirety of the holy life, and that you have to use this cosmic lottery ticket right now.
The final liberating truth seems to be that peace isn't found in controlling the uncontrollable.
It's found in letting go of that exhausting job. Realizing you're just the tenant, not the landlord, frees up all of your energy for the actual journey, for crossing the bridge.
So what does this mean for you listening right now? The sun is setting, you are on the bridge.
The sources leave us with one last question to reflect on, to bring this all right into this very moment. What temporary fixture, what castle are you still trying to build on that moving bridge? What does crossing over mean for what you will do in the next hour?
That is the question sparked by Samvega, and that is where the real journey begins.
An incredibly powerful and I think essential call to action. Thank you for guiding us through this.
If you felt that jolt, that spark of Samvega, you know what you have to do. We'll see you next time.